Welcome everyone to this episode of the Palmetto Guardian. I'm Sergeant Chelsea Baker.
And I'm Specialist Flonasia Neals.
And today we have a recurring, or how would you say that? A reoccurring. Yeah. A reoccurring visitor with us. So if you could just introduce yourself again for us.
Sure. Yeah, I'm super excited to be here again. My name is Lisa Mustard. I am a licensed marriage and family therapist, and I have worked for the South Carolina National Guard. Oh gosh, I think we said 10 years now.
Yeah.
Kind of ages me and dates me, but I'm okay with that. And I'm just I'm so grateful that you guys have me back on. I just love coming to share and be here with y'all.
Yeah, you always have lots of really good information to get out to everybody. So let's just go right into why you're here today.
Yeah, let's talk about it. So, oh gosh, how do I introduce this topic? I want to talk about living your best life, and how do you know if you're living your best life? And if you're not living your best life, how do you get there? This is something that is near and dear to my heart, this topic, and I love helping people figure this stuff out. And so I just want to offer this out today, that I truly believe that what we're going to talk about can change your life, if you're open to it. So those listening and those watching, I want you to get into the mindset that you're going to be open and that you're going to take what I have to say and really focus on what I share and the steps. And then if you want to move forward with it, then you can definitely contact me, because I really, really believe this is life-changing information. It changed my life, and I'm convinced it can change anybody who's open to it. So if you are listening and watching, don't put down your phone, because it's a podcast. Don't be scrolling social media. Try to tune out whatever else is going on, and really let's talk about how to live your best life, because this is something that about 7-8 years ago I really struggled with. And I say that because life was good. I always had a good job. I was working here. Husband's good. Kids are good. Life is good. But something was missing. And I remember just kind of feeling like I was going through the motions, and I felt like, something's just amiss. And I love self-help books. I am a self-proclaimed self-help junkie. I will read anything. And so I started to kind of look around, and I was reading all these books about meditation and habits and self-discipline. And it was all well and good. It gave me the action steps to take, but I couldn't pinpoint the underlying issue. And I don't know if you guys know, I'm going to say this because I truly believe that mental health is one thing, and then life coaching is another. So what I'm going to talk about is a life coaching model. And this is something that over the years I've done therapy, I've done life coaching, and this life coaching model changed my life. So I know y'all are like, just get to it, Lisa. So let me tell you what it is. It's called values-based coaching. And I used to do this program many years ago for the LEAP program when it was here for the Guard. If you guys remember that listening, maybe you remember the LEAP program, but it was helping soldiers get into better shape to be able to stay in the Guard, helping them kind of get down their weight and get physically fit. And one of the things that they would bring me in for is to talk about, now that you're here and LEAP and you're confined here, you're going to leave and you're going to go home, and all these new skills and all these new habits that you've learned, you're going to have to implement. But you're going to go home and your environment hasn't changed. Possibly like your spouse isn't going to be on board with healthy cooking, or your spouse isn't going to be on board with you getting in more exercise time. So how are you going to keep this momentum going? And one of the things that I would talk about is identifying your values and making a plan to live authentically and congruently through your values. So I would ask the question to these soldiers, like, tell me what your values are, and I'd write them all on the board. And I always get this. So if you're a soldier and you're listening, if you tell me integrity and respect and leadership and valor, like, yes, definitely, you guys, all the way. Like, don't stop with those values. But I want you to get a little bit deeper and think more personal. Not so much career, but personal. So you can get on Dr. Google and Google values. And I have a list here. There's hundreds of values on here, but really what values are, because I kind of really couldn't define it. Values are principles or standards of behavior, and they are also one's judgment of what is important. And when I understood that definition, oh y'all, that just changed the game for me, because one of my highest priorities, and values are also priorities. I'm going to stop and like ask you guys some questions about that, because what do you think about values? Like, do you know what your highest values are or what your priorities are?
That's a good question. Just because you go throughout life and you're trying to figure things out, and you could be a student, you could, be working full time, and you're just like, life is hitting you hard. But actually sitting down and thinking about that, I would say family is definitely up there. And my career,
Yeah.
those are pretty much my two main focus. So when I'm thinking about values that go in line with that, is just there's a lot of them, and I think self-discipline is the biggest one. That's up there for me.
Okay, so we've got self-discipline, we've got family, and and you said career.
Yes.
Okay, all right, we should write that down.
Oh.
What about you, Sergeant Baker?
Yeah, I honestly, like you said, I mean, you get wrapped up in your daily lives. So always family has been big for me, especially because I'm so far away from my family. But definitely progression in career. But I mean, other than that, it's like, what do you, because well, not values, but I don't even know what I'm trying to say.
That's okay. It's hard.
Yeah.
Like, this is a tough, I get it. Like, this is...
Especially whenever you're not, like you said, you're not thinking about it. You're not really talking about it. So it's like, what does that actually mean for you?
Right. So what I would recommend is, because if it's difficult for you right now, folks listening or watching, and it was for me in the beginning too, I was like, what? I don't know. And I actually asked my coach, like, what are your values? And so he told me his values, and it started to make more sense. So I would encourage everybody to just get on the internet and Google core values or values. So you get a list and you can start to see, oh, that's what a value is. Because it's really easy to say that career is a value.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to challenge you to go even further than that, because career is like something that we kind of have one. But maybe, like, what does that mean to you? When you think about your career, what's important about that career? Is it achievement? Is it altruism? Is it creativity? Is it contribution? So you want to get even more specific on what it is about your career that lights you up. So for me, when I think about career, I think this is what lights me up, and this is what has me kind of like working in authenticity, is creatively making a difference. And so that's my career. I creatively make a difference. And since I opened up to that value every day, it's like, how can I creatively make a difference? Sometimes it's going to be, hey, I get to come on this podcast and connect with you guys and help folks who are out there listening. Sometimes it's meeting with a spouse and she's dealing with, stress from, like, a parent is sick because of COVID and her kids are like just getting back in school. It's an army wife or something. So how can I creatively make a difference? Sometimes it's not that creative, but I get creative because of what I do in listening and reflecting back. So think about, and you guys create all day long. Like, this is your job.
Mm-hmm.
So if you think about it, I encourage you to get a little bit more descriptive with it. And this is the fun part when it comes to values. So let's talk about family. You mentioned, Specialist Neals, you mentioned family. And there's a lot of different ways to think about family. We could just say family. And to me, that's like, dishes and cooking and laundry and chauffeuring and driving them around and paying for their stuff and making sure they did their homework. And that seems really overwhelming as a mom.
Mm-hmm.
That's not why I got into this. I am a mom, and when I think about family, I think of it two ways: family first or family focus. So that allows me to take a step back and recognize all the things that I'm doing that seem like chores really allow me to focus on my family, right? So, for example, it's the girls' spring break this week, and I was like, I've got a lot of work at the office, but they're on spring break, and they want me to be able to be home with them, and let's have a good time. I was like, do I want to use my paid time off? Or, and it's like, this is important time. So family first, family focus means, okay, Lisa, you're going to use your paid time off. So after this podcast, I'm on leave. Y'all can call me. But that's how I figure family focus. Instead of going and being like, I need to be at the office this week. I have to do this. I'm going to get a babysitter and it's going to stress me out. Like, I'm just going to take the time off because I've got it and I'm going to enjoy it. So family first, family focus. And I think that also helps me at the end of the day remember, like, connect with my kids, connect with my husband. That's my value. It's not that I have this family. And that's what was missing for me 7-8 years ago. I said I had family and they were a value, but I wasn't living it out. Does that make sense?
That does.
Okay, great. All right. So, and then the other one you mentioned, Specialist Neal, was self-discipline.
Yes.
Okay, I love this one. So what about self-discipline what does that mean for you? Where in your life do you apply it?
Well, honestly, I apply it I strive to apply it to every aspect in my life, just because I don't like, I don't even know what I'm,
Yeah,
it's very
okay.
hard.
It's hard. This is not easy.
I saw a video on Facebook like maybe 2 years ago, and it was essentially saying life is hard. You got to choose your heart.
Sure.
So whether or not you're going to be disciplined, it's hard to be disciplined.
Right.
You know, it takes work to be disciplined, and it takes work to be undisciplined. So whether or not you just got to pretty much choose your heart. So I was just like, you know what? I may not want to do certain things, but it will essentially make my life easier in a sense. So applying myself in different areas will
No. I think that's good, because I understand what you're saying, and I think that you're younger than me. I'm just gonna about 20 years. But you're at that realization in your life, like, if I want my life to be, life is hard, life is resistance, life is obstacles. That's life. Like life is those things. We can't avoid it. Now, do we have to suffer? No, but we can't avoid obstacles. It's a choice that we make. And it sounds like you get that. You get, like, I have a choice of how I'm going to live my life. And I realize I can choose this discipline route, and I can discipline my distractions. You know, I can set this path for myself, and we all have days where the Netflix kicks in, or, you know, we have like 1, 2, 3 more donuts than we need. Like, I get those days, and we all have them, but you recognize when you start to head down that path, like, no, this isn't going to help me get further in my life. I have goals. I want to achieve them. So I think that that's a good one, and that's a great value. If self-discipline is a value, then more power to you. Like, nobody's here to judge what your values are. You know, as long as they're positive and healthy, then I'm all for it. So I think that's a great value. I'm going to come back to you. Have you thought any more about a value?
I'm lost, honestly. I feel like, I don't know, like, my head's just all over the place, because, like we were saying, it's just, life's so busy and hectic and chaotic, and there's just so much going on at a time. I don't have the time. Well, I mean, I should make the time to reflect and figure all that out, but honestly, I've never had anybody ask me that, so yeah, I honestly don't really know.
Okay. Now, with that, do you pick top 3, or can you have just a set of, because I mean, it's hard to pick just 3. It's just like, okay, well, I have this one, I can do this one. Like, I can apply different things to different aspects of my life. Like, is it more of, how do you set your values?
Right. Oh, that's a really good question. So maybe you're gonna look at this list, and so many are gonna jump out at you, and a lot of them are gonna be like, oh yeah, I do that as it is. Oh yeah, I'm into let's just say teamwork. I'm good at teamwork. I don't have to really work on that one. I got that one down. So you're gonna maybe list all of your values, and then you're gonna look at the ones that you're like, that's a value to me, but I'm not living it. That is where the work is. So for me, I would have listed, like, career, because I was in a funk 7-8 years ago. Like, I was just kind of in a funk with my work. Like, I was like, this is a good job. I like my job, but meh. My family, I love my family. It's good. Everybody's healthy, but meh, right? So they were values, but they weren't high enough on my priority list. And I knew that. It was like this incongruency going on. It was like this underlying feeling of, like, I don't like how I'm showing up every day. I don't like how I might bark at my kids when I don't mean to. I don't like how I go to work and I don't feel like I'm giving my best. So that's when I started looking at my values and said, oh, career, creatively making a difference. That's what I want to be working towards. Family focus. How do I show up as the best mom? How do I show up as the best wife? And so you're going to look at all your values, and then you're going to circle the ones that you really want to work on that might be giving you that underlying, like, feeling of meh. That's the only way I can describe it. And everybody's feeling of meh is going to be different for their life. So the next step is, once you list your values and you identify the ones you want to work on, you're going to pick 3 that you really want to work on. And you're going to, every day, you're going to think, okay, how am I? And this is what my coach used to say, and it's kind of cheesy, but I like it. He would say, how you vibing? How you vibing today? On a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being the highest vibe out there, how you vibing, Lisa? And anything below a 7, I would work on it. So if I looked at my list of values and I was like, every morning I look at my list and I say family, creatively making a difference, optimal and vibrant health. And then these are just my top 3 that keep me going and keep me happy. And like when I'm vibing really well in those, everything else works well for me. Achievement works well, teamwork works well, cooperation works well, thankfulness works well, gratitude works well. All the other values fall into place because those were the 3 that I struggled with I wasn't living authentically and congruently. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Now, I know as life, you get older or whatnot and life changes or whatnot, your values change.
Oh, yeah.
Now, how do you adjust to those changes? Yeah. Or how do you make those, like if you've been working on these, let's say 3 values for the last 3 years, how do you adjust to making those changes?
Sure. Well, let me back it up and say that when I work on those 3 values, I'm going to identify like 3 behaviors that are going to help me vibe higher on those values, right? So let's talk about, usually one that's pretty popular is health or is a value. So if you feel like health is a value, but you're kind of like vibing at a 4, how do you get from a 4 to a 6 on your health value? Well, I would ask you to look at 3 behaviors that you can commit to tomorrow that you could easily implement, okay? That would help you feel like you are on track to having a healthier lifestyle. One might be, I'm going to drink all my water. I'm going to drink, you don't have to say a gallon of water, but I'm going to drink, 3 liters of water today or 2 liters of water today. I'm going to get 7 hours of sleep. I'm going to turn off Netflix and I'm going to go to bed and get 7 hours of sleep. And then the third one's going to be, I'm going to choose a healthy lunch when I go out with colleagues. So those are 3 things that you can just start implementing the next day that's going to start that process of getting you back to your health. And eventually you might say, well, I got the water down. Water's easy for me. I can do that every day. I'm going to add in working out 3 days a week or however, then you just kind of switch out to different habits or different actions. And every day you're going to say, how am I vibing today on my health? How am I vibing? It's so subjective, right? Definitely. It is so subjective. So how I'm vibing on my health and wellness might be different than Sergeant Baker, but that's okay. It's a very subjective thing. So the question is, now that you kind of got that value down of health and optimal, I call it optimal and vibrant health, because when I think about that, I think, how do I want to show up in this world? I want to show up vibrant. I want to just feel like I got a spring in my step and, I walk in confidence. And so for me, that's included in optimal and vibrant health. And that includes mindset too, right? I've kind of like gotten to a point where I'm able to kind of do that on autopilot some days. So what else is out there for me? Like what other, as I grow and evolve, because like I said, this has been going on for like 7 years now. So optimal and vibrant health is kind of like, I can do that with my eyes closed. So what's another value that I want to bring up, right?
So this is a continuing process.
Oh yeah, totally. It's going to evolve as you evolve and grow.
Okay.
And there's nothing wrong with that. I hope it does. I really do, because that just shows that you're growing and you have a growth mindset and you're open to ideas and you're open to learning about yourself and you're just open. And a lot of people want to be open, but they're so scared because the status quo is all right. Comfort becomes uncomfortable, but they don't want to venture outside of that. So this is kind of a nicer, lighter, easier path to help people who are feeling kind of not so much they're dealing with major depression. They might have some symptoms of depression, but it could be that it's more like they just need to get back to the core values. But that answered your question?
Yes,
okay,
it does.
Great. Do you have any questions?
Not that I can think of. I'm like, this one has put me at a loss for words, honestly. Normally, like, I have all these questions and stuff, and now I'm just, like, really sitting here thinking, like, after this, I need to sit down.
Yeah.
Listen, I was already saying I'm going to need to print out these values and get my life together, because, it's a self-improvement thing. And when you're working on yourself, you feel better, and yourself is your best. It should be your best investment. So I'm glad that we have you on for this podcast, because it is life-changing when you do this process.
It is so life-changing. And I encourage, folks listening, if you're whoever you are and you're connected to the Guard, like take some time to really think about it. Ask your spouse to do it. If your kids are old enough. This is a great conversation to start having with your kids about values. Do we even talk about values with our kids? It's something that it's kind of one of those things, like if you're a parent and you find yourself saying, this is just what we do. This is how we do it. It's like, why?
Yeah.
What is the value behind that? What is it? Because you know, my husband and I were Generation X, and our kids, I don't even know, what are they, like Generation Z or X? I'm not X, but, you know, like, I don't even know what they're called yet. But we grew up in very different times, and the world is changing so quickly. And our values, they're still important, but they have so many more distractions as they grow up. You know, they have social media. There's a lot going on in the world right now. There's a lot we're talking about in our culture, and there's a lot, you know. And so as a family, what are your family values? How do you explain to your kids, like, what's important and what's not important, you know, and how to become your own person and how to think for yourself? And I think a lot of this goes back to, as a family, it all starts in the family. You know, it all does. And how are we showing up for our kids? How are we leading our kids? You know, I truly believe that.
Now, is there anything else pertaining to this topic that maybe you wanted to talk about, or is this kind of just like a starting point for everything?
It's really a starting point. There's a, you know, if someone's listening today and they're like, you know, I really am, it's really hitting me and I want to really flesh this out, then give me a call. We can set something up. We can do it on the phone. We can do it over Zoom. I don't have to be in person. You know, this is something that I can do easily on the phone. And it's different for everybody. So, for example, the model is we identify your values. We rate how you're vibing on your values. And we look at where's the incongruency in your life. Like, if it's career, and it could be career, you know, it could be working here at the Guard. A lot of people are here, they're here, and they see their path, they see their career, and they go, I just have to make it for the next, I hear this a lot. I'm already in, I'm vetted, I just have to get through the next 7 years. And some people are good, like, just get me through the next 7 years. But some people are like, I've got 12 more years here. I want to stick it out, but man, it's tough. I have days where I'm like, and they don't have a mental health issue. It's just life. And look, I've seen so much here at the Guard. I know it is a bizarre, it's so different than the private sector. But if you're here and you've got 10 more years to go, or you've got, you know, 7 more years to go, and you're invested in being here, let's help you really just live it out and make the best of it. And this is where that can come in. You know, I'm probably gonna tap into some things that, you know, you maybe not, you've thought about and you've put on the back burner, and you're just kind of stuffing things. That happens a lot. People go, well, I don't know about this value. Or we start talking about family, and it turns out you're not happy in your marriage, but your family is your family is first. Your family is focus. And that's
24.
And that's okay. You know, that doesn't mean we can't have a conversation about, you know, your values. It just means that your conversation is going to look different than another soldier or another family member. So that's really the model, is identify the values, prioritize them. How are you vibing, which means how are you living them authentically and congruently? What actions can you start taking today or tomorrow that can start getting you back into living out that value, or finding how to live that value out? And then you just reassess. It's a daily thing. I mean, if we're not working on ourselves every day, you know, and I'm not saying you have to spend hours working on yourself, but just in the morning, tap in, rate your state, rate how are you vibing, go to bed, how did I do today, living out my values. Oh, I missed this. Tomorrow I'm going to do better.
Yeah. Well, I'm really glad that you came in and talked about this, because you have me at a loss for words, honestly.
And that's rare. No, I'm just kidding.
But no, I'm glad that you talk about that, because it gives another side of what you do to be able to help people to get to where they need to be mentally, physically, emotionally healthy, to be able to be in this uniform. Because a lot of times, like you said, people put it on the back burner, they stuff it down, and then time goes on, and then it never gets addressed. So then the issue's still there, and it could have been prevented or fixed, and then they could feel a lot better about the situation and progressing in life and all that kind of stuff. So I'm really glad that you stopped by. And definitely we will probably see you again, like we always say.
I hope so. Yeah.
But just thank you again for coming in.
Oh, you're welcome.
And if you're watching this video, make sure you give it a big thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to our channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button, and we will catch you guys in the next episode.